Alrighty, welcome back to episode 4 of Ignore the Whistle. I'm your host, Anshul Dandapani, and I'm joined by
Professional NBA 2K11 Wii player Andy Wang.
News Chaubal.
The GOAT, Menezes.
Sahan, Yalavarthi.
The first time this year, Udit, Mehta.
Alrighty, well, let's get into it. All right, so playoff reactions from last week. Let's start with Packers-Rams. What do you guys think?
I mean, we all knew the Packers are gonna win.
We really need Andy's opinion on this matter.
Yes, you need my opinion. I'm the Packers expert, bro. But for real, like we dominated them. Like that number one defense got shredded. Even though Aaron Donald was like in and out, but like even when he was in, Elton Jenkins was working him. And then I mean Jalen Ramsey, he didn't play that bad. He played pretty decent, honestly. But I mean the Packers just have too many weapons, and the Rams kind of suck. So.
I think the Rams had a chance in the fourth quarter to take like back momentum, especially when the fumble happened. But Aaron Rodgers got onto that, and like that was honestly, in my opinion, watching the entire game, that was honestly their only chance of getting back into it. And they kind of, I wouldn't say they blew it because like Aaron Rodgers it was already like going to them. But that was their only chance, and they couldn't capitalize on that. So it was kind of expected.
Yeah. It looked like they were making like a little bit of a surge, like early in the third quarter. But I mean, the Packers team right now is pretty dominant. That offense is rolling, defense is rolling. They look pretty unstoppable right now. But let's see what happens this week.
I'm going to take Stephen A. Smith real quick and say Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. That was a phenomenal game. I mean, against the number one defense of the league, no one gave them a People were saying that in the last 5 years, when Aaron Rodgers played the number one defense, he's 0-5. All that stuff going on. Aaron Rodgers answers with a phenomenal game. I mean, that pass to Devontae, that was amazing. Jalen Ramsey on the sideline was very upset, even though it wasn't completely his fault. They made a problem switching, but still, it was phenomenal.
Wasn't that like a short pass on the 1 yard line or something like that? Like
that was the quickest release I've ever seen, bro. That thing came out on fire,
like a bullet.
Yeah,
it was an amazing.
What do you guys say? Mitsubishi will always be better. Always be his father.
Hey, bro, but you can't deny this. This man, Aaron Rodgers, has the most beautiful deep ball I've ever seen. Like, it's
honestly, like
that is true.
That throwing motion, like he just kind of like tosses it,
It's like flicks it and it goes like 70 yards.
Yeah, it's just
he's incredible.
Crazy.
Definitely incredible to watch.
In fact, the GOAT.
If I wasn't a Bears fan, I would definitely love him, but I can't really do that.
All right, I think we talked about Packers game, Packers-Rams. Now let's get into Bills-Ravens. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think we all knew who was going to win this game, let's be honest. Bills' offense was rolling, but what do you guys think?
This was one of the most boring games I've ever watched. Like, I couldn't even finish the first half.
I literally said this is going to be game of the year, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, when I say this is going to be game of the year, it's going to be, like, the worst game of the year.
It was terrible. They had, 3 missed field goals in the first half. Justin Tucker missed 2 off of each crossbar. Like, it was bad. It was so boring.
Yeah.
Reminded me of the Bears game a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Lamar
leave me alone,
weapons,
okay? We've been
bro.
through enough pain.
What'd you say, son?
Lamar needs weapons. He needs weapons. He can't do everything by himself. People hate on Lamar because look, he gets 163 passing yards, but then he gets 120 rushing yards. Oh, he's a running back. But dude, he has literally no weapons. He had Mark Andrews last year. Mark Andrews was popping off last year, and that's a big reason why their offense propelled them to a 14-2 record. But Mark Andrews has been extremely disappointing this year. Marquise Brown, I thought, and Anshul definitely knows this. He thought, he would make a gigantic leap, but he couldn't do that either. It's not entirely his fault, but still, but Lamar needs weapons.
Nah, I hate Marquise Brown.
Yeah, he screwed Anshul's fantasy team, bro. That's why he hates
That's
him.
true.
But
I mean, I still got
Andrews-
second place.
Mark
I still got second
Andrews,
place.
Literally, I needed
That's true.
1.3 points from him, and he could not get it. So
Wait,
I'm on the Mark
Which
Andrews
was
hate
it?
chain.
Nah, you
it was
weren't
when
in
I was
contention
playing-
anyways.
Okay, but it was early on. It was early on, so at least I had a chance. I want a 6-game win streak too. Don't forget that.
Don't forget you drafted Michael
from
Thomas
0
as
and
the first
6
pick.
Okay, shut up. We're not gonna talk about that.
All right, we can talk
Um,
about fantasy. We can go all day for that. But
for Sahan's point though, like you're giving Lamar too much credit. Like he's been very inaccurate this season. He's been missing his receivers so much. I'll agree. Holiday, like he's had a few he's had a few drops, but I still think if Lamar has to step up his game, especially in a playoff game against the Bills, who are probably the second best team if Patrick Mahomes was in that. It's only because Patrick Mahomes in that conference that they're not Super Bowl contenders. I think Lamar Jackson needs to play better. It's not entirely the fact that he doesn't have weapons. I mean, Mark Andrews is good. If he could utilize him better, I think they would have had a better chance.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Lamar running the ball too much?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I mean, if it works, like what was the record again? Like 10-6 or 11-5, one of those. I mean, if it works, it works. Like he still had a really good season. Like I'm sure any team would love to have him as quarterback.
The only thing I have to say about his running a lot is he's more likely to get injured.
Right.
And he's also your like franchise quarterback. So like,
yeah, that's true.
Really like what you want to think about there. Like I had Kyler Murray in fantasy, but this has nothing to do with that. But the way when he runs the ball, it more seems like he's like running away from people and he's like a little kid. But he's not trying to like run into like the middle of everything. I feel like Lamar does that.
Yeah.
It's more likely to get injured. But anyways, let's transition into Bucks Saints. So yeah.
Anush, you gotta kick us off here.
Drew Brees disappointing performance, but yeah.
This game was kind of surprising. Since like the Saints won the first 2 matchups.
Facts.
But I mean, playoff Tom Brady like never disappoints. So I guess that just pulled through.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean the Saints. They beat them 38-3 at the Bucks home. Like, I mean, I think obviously I didn't expect the Bucks to. I thought they would honestly make it a close game. I still thought the Saints would kind of win, low key, but like it was a good game. But at the end, I think the Saints offense. I think that loss probably on Drew Brees. 3 picks, and he just couldn't hit anything. Honestly, it was a rough game for Drew Brees. A bad way to go out for him.
But you gotta give him credit for like all the injuries he's like gone through this year.
Yeah.
I think
he had like some broken ribs.
Yeah,
something with torn labrum.
Yeah,
like he went through a lot.
It was a valiant effort. It was a good effort for his last season, but I do think like unfortunately it's hard to say because like Drew Brees, like obviously we all grew up watching him, but like it's kind of hard to say. But the Saints loss was definitely like almost entirely on him. The defense, the Saints defense played to the best of their abilities. Alvin Kamara did his thing, but it was really on Drew Brees. Like even Jameis Winston came in for one play, got a 56-yard bomb, but it was on Drew Brees. It was a sad way to go out, but
it wasn't completely on Drew Brees. I mean, Alvin Kamara and him, one of his picks, like that was a misunderstanding, miscommunication. He probably would have not thrown that pick had there been better communication. But more than the loss, I mean, it's just saddening to see how Drew Brees, his legendary career, first ballot Hall of Famer, is ending with a 3-pick game. It's just not like him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we honestly gotta like send a search party honestly to look for Michael Thomas because I know he was injured.
Here we go. Guys.
He a bomb, man. He's
injured.
He a bomb. He injured. Yeah, I know, but come on, man. 0 catches and probably the biggest game.
I'm pretty sure he's supposed to have surgery, but he delayed it just to play in this game. So like,
yeah, but he a bomb. But
he's not
the first pick in the fantasy draft. Oh my god.
Exactly. So I should be saying he's a bum. I have more of a case to call him a bum than Andy does, but like, I still think he's a top 5 receiver in the game.
That's cap.
I don't think it should be disputed.
He's number 4 for me, by the way.
He's number 6 for me, but
we
discussed that. We discussed that.
He's number 5.
All right. Anyways, let's talk about last game, which is Chiefs Browns. I expected a better effort from the Browns, but I don't know what you guys thought.
They choked.
They almost won.
Yeah,
they almost won.
In that fourth quarter.
They
But they
should have
didn't.
scored one more touchdown, but they missed the call.
Oh
for
yeah,
the
that
penalty.
helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was robbery.
Even with
Yeah.
that blown call, they had a chance and they kind of blew it.
Yeah,
And
they
the defense choked as well. Like normally, like on that fourth down play, anyone would try to draw them off sides, but like the Chiefs went for like one of the riskiest plays, going to the side and going with Tyreek Hill, but the Browns defense couldn't stop that either. So it was honestly even with the blown call, like they had the opportunity, but they still blew that too. So
like that, they let Chad Henne like run for like 20 yards. I mean, that's just kind of unacceptable. Like you let a backup QB just kind of like just take over like the last couple of plays. Like you can't do that, especially to a backup, and especially like if Patty Mahomes wasn't injured, like there's no doubt in my mind, like it would be a blowout by that point in the game.
I mean,
like we already saw that it was trending towards the Chiefs' favor by a long shot when Patty Mahomes was playing. I think that would continue. So I don't even know if they deserve to win that playoff game if they did win, but they didn't win, so it doesn't matter.
To be honest, though, what that game really revealed to me, plus a lot of other games throughout the season, I know the Chiefs went 14-2, but like I don't know, the Chiefs seem vulnerable, dude. Like they really do. Like that first season with Patrick Mahomes, they seemed unstoppable. Last season, even though they went 12-4, they seemed unstoppable. This season, with their best record under Patrick Mahomes, I think they don't seem unstoppable.
Yeah.
I think they seem like they're getting lucky in a lot of games. Like for example, that game against the Raiders, that's when I was like, dude, really against the Raiders? I mean, the Raiders were doing really good, like in that portion of the season, but still, like, like they seem vulnerable. And I think that Browns game really did show that, especially with the blown call. So
I definitely agree with you. When I think about that game, I don't think about the Browns losing or the Chiefs winning. I think about it that Kevin Stefanski got outcoached by Andy Reid. I mean, it wasn't even about like the Browns playing bad. It's just Andy Reid just inherently, like with a backup quarterback, just outcoached Browns. He picked calls that the Browns wouldn't expect. For arguably the coach of the year, it was too much for him. I still think the Browns put up a really good effort, though. It was commendable for going out there and playing against the best team in the AFC.
Mm-hmm. I think that game was more on the Browns' offense, honestly. I know you guys talked a little bit about the defense, but I feel like, I mean, they did a pretty decent job, as good as you can, probably containing that offense. And it was just on the Browns' offense to go out and make a few plays, which they couldn't do, not just at the end of the game when they had that drive at the end, but just throughout the game, they just kind of squandered a bunch of opportunities. They had some good opportunities, but it was. I mean, I commend the Browns. They played pretty well for the most part, but I think they left a lot on the table. Honestly, they could have played a lot better and probably beat them.
They have a bright future, though.
Bright future.
Yeah. Who would have known the Browns would get this far? But anyway,
I mean, let's see how it goes. Usually, this is a Browns type of thing. They'll like hype everybody up and then they'll disappoint. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna get into Packers Bucks. I think personally, this game is gonna be like a really, really high scoring game. That's what I like anticipate. But I think the Bucks will win. So yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, we got two Packers fans in here. Usually we only got one, but Udit decided to show up. But I mean, as a local Packer fan, I gotta go with the Packers because I mean they're not that Bucks defense. They did really good that first game, but I think without that pick six, that it would have been a blowout. But obviously the Bucks come on and make plays, and especially against the Saints, they only scored 9 points that whole game off just straight drives, like not off turnovers. So I think the Bucks defense really thrives off of turnovers, and as long as the Packers do not turn the ball over, and especially in that cold weather, I don't think the Bucks are going to be able to get going offensively. I think this one's going to be at least probably a 10, 15-point game, honestly, in my opinion.
This will be a very close game, but the Bucks will win because playoff.
You're a Bears fan, baby.
Most
yes,
playoff
sir.
wins Two very good wide receivers, best run defense, very good pass rush. They have what it takes to beat the Packers, and they will do it for the second time this season.
A small cap.
As an unbiased.
No, you are biased. No, you are
unbiased.
I don't want to hear any of that.
Okay, shut up. Let us speak.
And I hate the Bears. Okay, but I honestly think that the Packers are gonna win this one. Okay, because I get that the Bucs defense has been rolling, and I get that Tom Brady and the offense is like the most like talented wide receiver core we've ever seen. But you got to keep in mind Antonio Brown's out. Okay, Antonio Brown and Tom Brady have been balling the past few games, and Antonio Brown has been Tom Brady's main connection. So that's a big blow on offense. And I think the Bucs defense, they've been rolling, but like once again, like I think it's a fluke, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest.
Why do you think it's a fluke?
Yes, it's a fluke.
Why do you think it's a fluke?
I think it's a fluke because I think in the earlier parts of the season, like they weren't doing so well. I think the main part, it all comes down to the Bucs secondary. That's really what it is. Okay, because the linebackers have been playing great. The Bucs D line is always known to be good. I think it really comes down to the secondary. Based on them, if they play well, I think the Bucs will win. But like to be honest, I still think Rodgers, and as Andy said, like the Bucs thrive off of turnovers. And I don't think Rodgers is obviously not like someone who gets a lot of turnovers. So I think overall the Packers still have an advantage here. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a fluke. Like you could make that argument for the Titans last year. They made that deep playoff run. They did not do well early in the season. Sahan, your Colts, Andrew Luck Colts, they didn't do well early in the part of the season at all. And then they just caught fire. I think that's what's happening with the Bucs. With that being said, I am going to pick the Packers to lose this one.
Let's go.
They're gonna lose.
Oh my god.
Bro, Nayan, you literally have the Tampa Bay flag as your profile picture.
I'm just gonna jinx it. Like Packers are totally gonna dominate this game. Tom Brady's probably he's easily second best to the GOAT Aaron Rodgers. This shouldn't even be a game. It's gonna be a blowout. I think the Packers are gonna lose this one. To be honest, I was trying to jinx there. You couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. I mean, they're a very well-rounded team, arguably the most well-rounded team in the league. We'll see if that works in their favor.
Here's what I'm gonna say. This game against the Buccaneers, after the Week 6 loss, like if you take that out of the picture, all 16 games the Packers played, they never were really out of it. Besides the Bucs game, their loss against the Vikings, their loss against the Colts, they were both in the game. The Packers have had almost a perfect season. And Aaron Rodgers, after the Week 6 loss against the Bucs, said it was a bad practice. I really think that this Packers team is the most dominant team in the NFC. But the playoffs,
I don't think that's up for dispute.
The playoffs, a new day every day. So literally anything could happen. And playoff Tom Brady, but in the frozen tundra, going through Lambeau Field, Tom Brady might be fine, but his wide receivers, the rest of his players, are going to feel that cold.
Yep.
I think the Packers have home field advantage. I think Packers have Aaron Rodgers red hot, wanting to win the Super Bowl to prove those haters wrong that were dominating at the start of the season, and Nayan, obviously. But I also think that this win is a statement win for Aaron Rodgers' legacy. I mean, if he can't make the Super Bowl this year, it's very unlikely that he will be able to the near future. He's 37 years old. He probably has 5-6 years left.
Oh, that's a lot, actually.
Not the stretch, but
it's a bit too much.
But he really need. I mean, if he wants to be in that GOAT discussion, he needs another ring.
That's facts.
This year is his best chance. I mean, this Packers team is the most dominant that has been the last decade, besides the 2010 Super Bowl win.
I think this team's better than that team, honestly. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, they were the 6th seed that year.
Yeah, this team is good, man. We go into the chip, baby. I'm calling it.
Okay,
I'm not gonna jinx it though. I'm not gonna wood though.
You already did.
Devin White though is the only player I'm concerned about on the Bucs defense.
Vita Vea he's one of the most dominant.
He's coming off
but he's 350 pounds coming off a fractured leg.
I still think he's still one of the best nose tackles in the league.
He's coming off a fractured leg. How much do you think he's gonna play? He's coming off a fractured leg.
He already got
300
activated.
He's coming. It doesn't matter. He's not gonna push it. What are you talking about?
We'll see.
It's like a sumo wrestler playing with a broken leg.
But he's really good. Like.
But he's 350 pounds.
Some big lug out there.
He's also
They're still the
350
best run
pounds.
defense in the league without him. So I mean,
That's cap. That's cap.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
All right,
not-
let's
All
go.
right, guys. Let's transition over. This is getting a little heated, but all right, Chiefs Bills. Personally, I'm hopping on the Chiefs not the Chiefs. Sorry, the Bills bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? Bills Mafia. So I got the Bills here. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think I'm gonna go with Bills. Honestly, I like the upset potential right here. Even though it doesn't seem too much like an upset because the Bills have been really, really good this year. But I think the Bills they've looked really good offensively and defensively, and I think the Chiefs they just kind of look shaky this year, even though they haven't played like terrible enough to lose. They've been on the verge of losing like we talked about earlier. So I think the Bills can take this one as long as Josh Allen doesn't force a lot of passes and commit too many turnovers. But I think this one should be a good game.
Also, Bills have like hella momentum right now, so I'm just putting it out there.
That's true.
Good point.
both of these
I think
teams
they-
can score. Go ahead, Sahan.
Oh, go ahead, Anush. No, go ahead, Anush.
Okay. So both of these teams can score the ball very well. They can put lots of points on the board. But that being said, the Chiefs just have too many weapons, like Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Very difficult to beat those guys in a shootout. So I got to go with the Chiefs here.
Fair point. It's a very fair point. Sahan, you want to add on to that? No, you're.
I think, as I said before, the Chiefs looked vulnerable. But to be honest, I think the same can go for the Bills. Okay, throughout the regular season, not in the beginning, because in the beginning I think they're still developing with that, especially with the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs connection. But near the end, they seemed unstoppable. But in the playoffs, I know that they won both games, and I know that they're in the AFC Championship. But honestly, like I know that the Colts blew that game, but honestly, during the wild card. Okay, stop it, Andy. But during that wild card game, I honestly think the Bills, once again, like, they looked really vulnerable. Because, to be honest, the Colts, like, I wasn't expecting them to win, but I didn't expect them to get that close. I thought they were going to get blown out by the Bills' offense. But to be honest, I thought the Bills' offense, came to a standstill almost at a certain point. The only reason why I feel like the Bills, like, moved past is because the Colts screwed that game up in the last few drives. And again, with the Ravens and Bills game, once again, I think like I saw the Bills offense come to a standstill. So I don't really know. But I think, to be honest, the Chiefs are going to win this one because, as Anush said, in a shootout, the Chiefs just have too many weapons.
I'm going to take Sahan's spot on. We all talk about the Bills offense and how much Stephon Diggs done this year, but Bills don't run the ball. Devin Singletary has not run the ball enough this year. And you're playing Patrick Mahomes, you want to control that clock. You want to chip as much time as you can. And that Bills offense cannot win this game against Patrick Mahomes if Devin Singletary doesn't come to the party. But you know what I will be doing, regardless who wins or loses? I'm going to be smashing tables for Bills Mafia if they do win this game.
Udit, you're in an incredibly Indian family. They're not going to let you do that.
Yeah, you're gonna get your butt beat.
But yeah, I think we all want the Bills. I think we all want the Bills to win. We all want the.
I
want a State Farm Super Bowl, but
I'm trying to see Chiefs Packers if the Packers win.
Yeah, that's facts.
I'm trying to see Chiefs Packers. Patrick Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes is probably the next Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. So let's see, old school versus new school. I'm excited. I'll be excited for that matchup if it happens. Like I said, when I say stuff is going to be the game of the year, it turns out to be really bad. So I think it's going to be a really, really crappy game. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this.
All right, so we got some new head coaching hires. First of all, let's start with the Jets. Robert Saleh got hired, former defensive coordinator for the 49ers.
Correct.
I like the hire. I don't know if he'd be a great head coach, but I like him as a defensive coordinator, so we'll see.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think it's a good move. This was probably the best head coaching move in my opinion that's happened thus far.
Probably the
Robert
best
Saleh.
candidate on the market.
Yeah, dude, he was a beast. He was an absolute beast in San Francisco. He made that 49ers defense dominant, especially as we saw in that Packers game. That was kind of depressing. But yeah,
That was pretty funny to be honest.
Okay, Nayan. Okay, Bears fan. But yeah, it was rough. But the 49ers defense was good, mainly because of him. So it's interesting. I'll be interested to see how the Jets do, especially, I mean, they don't have too much talent on the defensive side. We'll see what they do in this draft and free agency. But I think Robert Saleh is a very good move for them.
I'm gonna agree with you. Even while the 49ers had multiple players injured, obviously they traded Forrest Buckner to the Colts. So they lost arguably their best defensive player. So like with the lack of talent they had this year on that side of the ball, they were still pretty good.
Right.
Obviously they shut down that high octane offense of the Cardinals. Obviously they trailed off towards the end, but like they were doing really well towards the beginning of the season. So they had a lot of talent on that side of the ball, and they still shut them down. So I think this is a good hire. I mean, he's a big culture guy. Obviously Matt Nagy is too, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all know how that worked out.
Yeah, we all know how that worked out.
All right, Anush, what do you think about the Eagles hiring Nick Sirianni, the former Colts offensive coordinator?
Nick Sirianni.
This is a good move for them because
Sahan.
Frank Reich used to be on their coaching staff when they won the Super Bowl and when Carson Wentz played his best year. And then now they get someone that worked with Frank Reich from the Colts.
Right.
So I think that's a good move for them.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean,
really going to be a battle. Oh, sorry, Andy.
No. I was just gonna say, like, I'm interested to see like how that quarterback situation kind of plays out. You know,
dude, that's literally what I was gonna say.
Yeah, because I know Anush, you mentioned how they were there with when Carson Wentz was at his prime, but I mean we don't know the future of that Eagles quarterback room. We don't know. We know Jalen Hurts had played really well towards the end of this year. He had huge flashes of potential, and Carson Wentz is shown his he's been pretty bad, and he also hasn't played well. So, I mean, they said that it's like open for competition, but I'm not really sure who's going to be the QB1 heading into Week 1 next year. It'll be interesting.
I was just gonna say, I think you give Carson Wentz another chance. But if Carson Wentz doesn't deliver, I think Jalen Hurts is a really good option. I mean, the way he beat the Saints in his first real game as starter. I really think that Jalen Hurts has shown tremendous potential. He's been one of the great QBs. There have been a lot of great rookie QBs this year, Justin Herbert, but I really think Jalen Hurts could be the future in Philadelphia. But if you are going to not play Carson Wentz, give him to a different team, because I'm sure a lot of teams are looking for quarterbacks right now, and he's a starter wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes, I mean,
like I said,
lots of better quarterbacks.
He's on that big contract, so you don't give him that big of a contract to not give him at least one more chance. Otherwise, you're probably eating a lot of cap when you trade him. You're probably gonna have a dead cap hit. So like you got to give him at least one more shot. Obviously, they probably have a pretty good backup plan if it doesn't work with Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I think he deserved one more shot. This was kind of a bad year. He really did not have any sort of an O-line. We even saw that when Jalen Hurts played. He was pretty much just scrambling for his life pretty much the entire time. You have a bunch of wide receivers who are incredibly inconsistent. Miles Sanders was inconsistent. Ertz was horrible this year. Like absolute trash. So like
wasn't he like half injured though?
Yeah, he was injured half the year.
Okay,
he's still terrible.
It was still bad. So like
he was like a top 5 tight end last season, right? Or no?
Yeah,
I don't know. This year he pretty much showed no effort. Even on Twitter, you could see Philadelphia fans just complaining about his effort constantly. So I think that's kind of a problem. But maybe with Doug Peterson fired, maybe that'll change. He'll play better under a new coach.
Yeah.
But let's see if they can get Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts some weapons, and then we can decide.
For sure.
All right, so Falcons, another new coach hire Arthur Smith from the Titans offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that?
I rescind my previous statement about Robert Saleh being the best hire, because I think this hire was probably the best one.
Really interesting.
Yes, dude. The Falcons, they've been struggling, and the Titans. Arthur Smith was a key reason for that offense. I mean, we know Derrick Henry obviously was probably the biggest part, but that offense with Ryan Tannehill when they brought him in, and when Arthur Smith actually started to like take over, like they were great. They were probably, I would say probably like top 6 or top 5 offenses.
I think they're ranked the best offense this year. So
yeah, they just had a great all around offense when everyone's healthy. So I think this hire, honestly, I think it potentially saved the Falcons, but the Falcons' biggest need is their defense right now. Like their offense, they have playmakers, but their defense is just they can't do anything. They couldn't guard a parked car. But I like this hire as far as I can see. It's a pretty decent hire.
I'm just gonna put a hot take on the table. I think Falcons are a playoff team after this hire.
Oh.
Okay,
That's
come on.
I don't think that. I don't think
That's a
that.
huge stretch.
They lost 7 one-score games without like any leadership or any head coach last year. I mean, like Dan Quinn was terrible. They were 0-6 with him.
You have to keep in mind, like they're probably they might trade some of their best players. Obviously, Matt Ryan might be gone. His future, it's pretty unknown right now what they're gonna do. Julio Jones, I mean, I doubt they trade him, but like it's definitely a possibility at this point. With how like they're not in a position to contend at all. So
I'm not
saying
they're gonna get
time
anywhere.
to trade
I'm just
them.
saying they'll at least make the playoffs. With 7 teams making it, I think they're one of the 7.
That's fair. I mean, we'll see. I mean, the NFC is a little bit weaker. Obviously, since we know because the Bears made it, it's a very weak conference. But
no bias.
They got potential. Yeah, no bias. It's just the Bears suck. Okay, the Bears are terrible. Okay. But yeah, the Falcons they can make it. They got a chance.
All right, so Urban Meyer from OSU. He's the only college coach to get hired this year, and he's going to be the new Jags coach. I thought this was a really interesting hire. I was kind of surprised by it. Yeah. But yeah, what do you guys think?
It's a decent move because they have the most draft picks. Like they have a lot of young talent on that team, and then Meyer, being a college coach, can obviously coach young talent. So I think that kind of works out for them.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
Facts. I mean, he went 18 years as a Division I head coach. He went 187-32, and I mean, we know he's a winner. But I mean, we can like in the past, it's just that college coaches really haven't had a lot of success in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see if Urban Meyer can kind of change that reputation that college coaches have for when they switch over.
This is definitely a risky hire in my opinion. I know they gave him a pretty big contract. I think it was like I want to say $12 million a year, which kind of looks similar to that Gruden contract, and obviously like that hasn't worked out too well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen some things like apparently he like says he has health concerns whenever his team isn't performing too well, and I don't know what he's going to expect with the Jaguars because like they're the worst team in the league arguably. But maybe Trevor Lawrence can transform that franchise. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Who knows? This draft will be big for them, honestly. Depends on who they take.
They need to make big moves. I agree.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The last head coach hire, Brandon Staley. Rams Staley, my bad. I don't know about all these names, man, but the Rams defensive coordinator, definitely a stud because that defense was so good this season. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it'll depend honestly because, the Chargers are a pretty young team. Obviously, they're missing. I can't remember what was the safety's name again. That like tore his ACL or something.
Derwin James.
Yeah, Derwin. Yeah, so they have Derwin and Joey Bosa, and I
think Melvin Ingram too.
Yeah, Melvin Ingram is old. He's old, but he's still pretty good. But they have some good defensive pieces. So I think honestly this hire is pretty decent, honestly, because Brandon Staley is a very good defensive head coach, and the Chargers' offense is already pretty decent. And obviously Anthony Lynn probably has the IQ of a burnt potato, but this offense can be really good if they have a good coach. And I think Brandon Staley, hopefully, even though he's a DC, I think he'll hopefully be able to bring some stability to that team.
To be honest, I don't know if this is the best fit for the Chargers team. Obviously, their strength is offense, and you want Justin Herbert to take it to that next level. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with a more offensive-minded coach. But obviously, like, you had that Rams defense be absolutely transformed. So who knows? Maybe it'll work out. But like with the recent DCs that have been hired as coaches, hasn't really worked out. We saw it with Vic Fangio. I mean, Broncos are pretty terrible. Obviously, you had Mike Vrabel. Obviously, his team's good, but his defense is pretty trash. So I'm surprised they didn't go a more offensive route, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts on this are like Herbert was good with a bad coach already at offense. So like if anything, their defense needs work, and I think he'll be fine because like I think this dude's a good coach. Like I don't really know much about like coaching, I'll be honest, but Rams defense is really good, so he must have done something right this season at least. So all right, so now we're gonna transition to my favorite part of this podcast, hot takes. First hot take. Does Matthew Stafford make the Colts a contender? I think we all know who put this one in, but Sahan, would you like to speak on it?
Yes. I truly believe that this isn't even a hot take. I think this is a real thing. I get that there's a lot of talent in the AFC, and the AFC's like really stacked this year and it's probably gonna be stacked next year as well. But I honestly think that the Colts were QB away from being Super Bowl contenders. Philip Rivers did really good this season, to be honest, outperformed my expectations after coming off like a horrendous last season in LA with the Chargers. But I think the Colts are really well-rounded, and I think with having Matthew Stafford and drafting a wide receiver or O-line, we can really have a profound like impact on the playoff implications because Matthew Stafford is a playmaker, and that's all really needed. Rivers is good, but he's not really a playmaker. You know, he can get the job done most of the time. Matthew Stafford is just that next level. So that's why I really think the Colts can be Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of your points. I don't know. I think Super Bowl is a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if they're that up there. I think their offense still has some holes, especially probably with that wide receiver core. They don't. And then obviously we know the two running backs have potential, but I think that team is just they have potential, but I don't know if they're built to be a contender yet. I think they have a chance, but Stafford does make them considerably better, especially since he's a big upgrade over Philip Rivers. So yeah, I can see it happening, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch.
I think the thing you have to consider is if you trade for Matthew Stafford, you're taking on that huge contract, and we don't really know if Matthew Stafford is a winner. Like he hasn't really won anything. Obviously, that's probably because the Lions organization hasn't supported him well, but like. Aside from that, he hasn't won anything. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I've said this multiple times. I think they need like a big time wide receiver. They don't have that on the roster yet. T.Y. Hilton's been pretty inconsistent. Michael Pittman, he had some flashes, but obviously I don't know if he's going to be that number one like wide receiver, that true number one wide receiver. So like I would like to see them try and get Julio Jones if he does become available, or maybe even a player like Juju. I know people hate on him, but he's still a pretty good wide receiver. So let's see. I've said this multiple times. I think they need a superstar on that side of the ball to really take them over the top.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say getting Matthew Stafford will make the AFC so much more competitive. I mean, but as long as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are in the AFC, calling Colts Super Bowl contender might be a stretch. I would bet on Patrick Mahomes having it every single year. But I think Matthew Stafford makes the Colts the Bills of this year much more dominant. Like they're a force, and the Colts have an amazing run game. They have great wide receivers. They have a defense that stepped up this year. Their offensive line needs to stop getting holding calls. But besides that, I think the Colts are in for a really good year if they get Matthew Stafford.
Still won that Packers game though, Udit.
Okay, Sahan deep.
Okay. Who's in the playoffs still?
Yeah, who's in the playoffs?
Hey.
All right, wait. My thoughts. You guys were kind of, I feel like, overrating Matthew Stafford. Like he's good, Like he's good. I think you guys are slightly overrating him though.
No,
like, come on.
No, he's not. He's just been in a bad situation. I remember that one. Okay, just look at the stats, bro. Like 45,000. I think I saw stats. It was like 45,000 yards and like less than some interceptions. Only 2 people in the history of the NFL have it. That's Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford.
That too.
Matthew Stafford, he is talented. He just doesn't have the supporting cast around him, and he's been stuck in Detroit his entire career.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Okay, but I get that, but I don't think. Okay, actually, I don't know. Colts do have a really good defense, so maybe adding Tim to the team does make them Super Bowl contenders. But even then, the wide receiver core of the Colts, Sahan, you have to agree, it's like
mid,
not that great. It's like mid.
I think it is mid, but I think that Rivers had a big step down, going from the Chargers to the Colts in terms of wide receiver core, going from Keenan Allen to the main man being T.Y. Hilton, who's been pretty inconsistent this year, and he still made it work. Well, to be honest, he got 700 yards this year. He started really picking it up at the end because he's dealing with some injuries in the beginning. But to be honest, Phillip Rivers made it work. He actually, I think the Colts were top 10 in passing offense or top 15 around there. So I know that's half, but still,
that's the definition of mid.
Yeah, but no, I'm pretty sure they're top 10. I saw that statistic somewhere. But if Phillip Rivers can make it work, I think Matthew Stafford can make it work. And obviously, Chris Ballard, I think he can draft a wide receiver in the draft, and he's really good at doing so. So I think if they put their focus on getting a wide receiver, they can easily get it done. So
yeah.
I think it's fair to question though, is this really going to make much of a difference? Because I have the stats here. Phillip Rivers threw 24 TDs, 11 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and then Matt Stafford had 26 and 10 with around 4,500 yards. So is it really going to push them over the top and take them to that next level? Personally, I don't think so. I still think they need one more piece, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, next hot take. All right, this is Nayan's. Embiid for MVP. I personally don't. I think he's like you guys were saying top 3, but he's debatably not even the best in his position. So you have to be definitively the best in your position for me, in my opinion, for you to get the MVP vote. So yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, I'm a huge Jokic fan, man. I love Jokic. That's my boy. And honestly, I think Jokic is better than Embiid right now. This man is out here, dude. He's a god. He's just out here. You give him the ball at the top of the key, he will literally make anything happen. The thing is with
Jokic, he kind of pass it he can score. He has a lot of opportunities to score, and he just chooses to pass the ball sometimes, which is kind of I've seen it a lot on social media where they're kind of frustrated with his play sometimes because he's a little too passive and he decides to pass the ball sometimes. Obviously, he's still amazing, but I think in terms of play style, I think Joel Embiid is probably one of the most dominant players in the NBA. He can pretty much do it all. And he's having an amazing season. And obviously, a lot of Philadelphia's team has COVID right now, and they're still winning. So, obviously, it's supposed to be a hot take. So I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But if Joel continues this trend and carries that team to a good playoff seed, I think he's going to be MVP.
That's reasonable. This is putting up 27 points per game, 50% from the field, and Sixers are the first seed. That's definitely reasonable.
Yeah. But I think there are other more viable options. Obviously Jokic, but I think KD, that's a big one. Obviously, the Nets haven't been looking very good, but KD's out here averaging probably 30 something. And he looks like his old self, honestly. He looks back to normal. And I think if he continues to play at the way he is, averaging 30, then he's got a good shot. And if the Nets, get it together, I think he's probably got a much better shot than Embiid does.
Yeah, I just think Nayan, what you're saying, your criticism of Jokic, I feel that's just not really a fair criticism because he's still he's just passive. I don't know if that's that fair of a criticism because he's still getting the ball in the basket a good amount, right? And he is a passive player, but that's kind of part of his like play style. He's kind of like a
I don't know,
playmaker
I'm
that's
just
like
saying he's
super
still
tall.
an amazing player, but like there are opportunities where I see he has a wide open lane. He can easily shoot the ball, but he just decides to pass it. And when you're the leader of the team, at some point you have to start putting the ball in the basket, no matter who it is. Like at some point you just got to put the game in your hands and start shooting.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
he does. I mean, I think the most glaring criticism of Jokic, other than how slow he actually is, and how bad he is in like the pick and roll on defense, it's probably his turnovers. Honestly, he makes, obviously he's a gifted passer, but I question some of the decisions he makes at like 9 touchdowns. He does kind of pass up a few certain shots like a few times a game. And he tries, kind of force it in and make things happen. So I think that's probably his biggest knock. And I think if he can shave the turnovers down from 4 to maybe like 2, I think he'll be fine.
Also, like another thing, and just in terms of like MVP, like the MVP race, because it's not just about statistics and how they're playing; it's also about the team. I think Embiid is like number 1 in the MVP race right now over Jokic because they have comparable statistics, comparable dominance, but Embiid's team is doing much better than the Nuggets are. The Nuggets are talented, but they haven't been doing as well as the 76ers have been doing this year.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, after the 76ers like really disappointing season last year, I thought that they're kind of screwed for the future. But like looking at them playing this season, like I think we've said this in the past, but I think they have a bright future ahead, especially with guys like Tobias Harris actually like playing pretty decently, and Embiid having his MVP caliber season. But yeah,
and they obviously hit on the draft pick with Maxey, who's had a really good season. So I'm liking their team right now.
I thought they were gonna blow the team up, honestly, after last season. Like potentially,
it's pretty hard, dude.
I mean, I guess like that Tobias Harris contract super huge. Like he secured the bag there, but I thought Ben Simmons was for sure gone, but he's here to stay, I guess. But anyways, now Andy kind of touched on the Nets, but what do you like a hot take that I think Andy said, right, was the Nets weren't going to make it past the Eastern Conference Finals, which I don't know where this is coming from, right? They just came together, they're obviously going to have chemistry issues. That's why they lost the last 2 games, in my opinion. But I think they're going to bounce back and they're going to win it all this year.
Cap. Listen. They have no defense and they have no bench. Those are 2 key things that you need to make a deep playoff run. Eventually, that core 3, and not just the core 3, the starting 5, they're going to get tired down the road. You need to have quality players that can, substitute in for them, near the end of games and also near the end of the season. It's a long season, 70+ games. Obviously a little shorter this year, but they need that depth, and they just don't have that right now. They've got a bunch of no names coming off the bench, and then they just don't. And the defense, man, getting rid of Jared Allen was a huge mistake. I know they had to do it to get James Harden, but that was a huge mistake.
I don't really know if they needed to do it because I don't know how the Cavs were like kind of involved in that trade. I don't know why they shouldn't make an exclusive trade with the Rockets. Obviously, I don't know the exact details of the trade, but like Jared Allen's a really, really, really good defensive center, and you kind of just like gave him up for pretty much, I think, a 2nd-round pick or something like that.
Yeah.
Rip Jared Allen's career. He's on the Cavs.
Dude, he's been balling.
They've been playing well recently, though.
The Cavs are 8-7.
The Cavs are not gonna sustain it, dude. There's no chance. Like Colin Sexton, he's playing out of his mind right now, but there's no way that's sustainable.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't think it matters that they're not going to sustain it because their young players are developing, and that's all that matters for that team.
Right.
And if Colin Sexton can take on 3 superstars by himself, like that's big time. Okay, shut up. Resume. That's big time potential right there. Like if you can do that, like you're gonna be really good. Obviously, like he still has to play the rest of his career, but that's a pretty impressive thing to do. Not many people can do it.
Yeah.
The young core, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland. You know what I'm saying? You know the name, but
Sexland. But Going back to the Nets, they basically gave up Jared Allen, and then their only replacement is DeAndre Jordan, who really can't do anything except dunk the ball.
Washed.
And yeah, he's washed. He's washed. So I think the Nets, man, I don't know what they were thinking. I think they would be much better off with just Kyrie and KD, honestly. They didn't even give it probably 10, 15 games for that duo to develop, and now they're adding in another piece to that and another ball dominant piece. So I just don't think they're gonna be able to sustain, this three-headed dragon. And the defense and bench is just a huge weakness that I think the good teams like the Bucks, 76ers, Celtics, even Pacers, I think they're all going to exploit that weakness. They all have much deeper and better teams.
The thing is, Harden, okay, yeah, he's ball dominant, but I don't know if you guys were watching the game today, but he showed that he can pass the ball pretty well. So he's been passing well.
They beat who did they beat today? Who did they play?
The Heat.
I think the Heat, right? And they don't have Jimmy Butler, and they only won by 4, right? And they still allowed 124 points. Come on, dude.
They are not
Come
good.
on.
Okay, I'm not saying about their defense. First of all, okay, basketball nowadays, in my opinion, is mostly offensive based. So yeah, defense is very important. Don't get me wrong, but
no. See, the thing
I guess everyone's disagreeing, but
no, because you're right about it. You're right that it's all offense based, which is why you need a good defense, like a solid defense. It doesn't even have to be good. A solid defense, because everyone can score. So now it's now all the offenses are at the same level, right? Where everyone's putting up 120, 130 points per game. So now you need a defense to kind of balance that out and give you that advantage, because we know everyone's going to score. So I think the defense is really what makes it, especially in this day and age. So, and the Nets don't have that, I don't think that's why they're not going to go far.
I just I don't agree with you. Oh, sorry. Anush, go.
No, I was just saying I think you brought the point that James Harden is if you see him, he's still he's a good passer. He's not necessarily a ball dominant player. Just goes back to the fact that they only have 3 real good players on their team. They lost Spencer Dinwiddie. Okay,
they have 2 top 5 players on their team right now. That's
and then
insane.
a bunch of bums.
All right, and those two top 5 players can only play so many minutes in a game.
Right.
Okay. KD just came off a injury that took him out for a season. Kyrie, I mean, I'm not really sure. Kyrie's good, obviously. I'm not sure if he can play 40 minutes, 38 minutes per game. James Harden can, but the thing is, it just goes down to the defense and the depth that they lack. You need that in the playoffs. And I honestly agree with Andy's point. All these Eastern Conference teams are gonna exploit that.
Right, yeah.
I think someone's gonna step up. Someone will step up on that team. I'm calling it right now.
Maybe.
Who? Do you know anyone?
No, but there always is a couple players every year that step up. Nah, you have to agree with me on that.
That's cap.
There's gonna be.
I mean, even though the Bulls have been god awful, but I mean, in the past,
they've been god awful. They've been meh this season.
No, I'm saying for the past couple of seasons. But before that, literally, we traded away our best backup point guard nearly every year, and we found a new one. So people can develop, and people they get better in new roles. So let's see what happens.
I don't know about that, man. You want what? Bruce Brown Jr., Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, Reggie Perry.
He's pretty solid.
You're gonna depend on those to win you a playoff game. You're gonna take Harden and
you're
Kyrie.
forgetting James Harden.
Those are not gonna win you the playoff
Kyrie
game.
And,
superstars win you the playoff game at the end of the day.
Yes, but superstars can't play. They cannot sustain that. They're not going to be able to play 45 minutes a game. That's not human of them, especially after the long season. So I think in the playoffs, it's done so. They're not getting past the semifinals, honestly. At least that's what I think.
To me, they've been struggling because they've played, 5 games? I mean, they need more time, for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, by the time the playoffs roll around, they'll be fine. They'll get it all figured out, and they will possibly make the finals.
Cap. I don't know about that.
We'll see what happens. I mean, we're being kind of reactionary, so
Yeah, that's true. It's a little too early.
All right, let's conclude now. All right, so this was the Ignore the Whistle podcast. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Adios.